What happened to Buffalo Springfield?
Buffalo Springfield was a folk and psychedelic rock band from Los Angeles, California, formed in 1966. Their formation is unusual and noteworthy. Stephen Stills and Richie Furay were caught in traffic on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles when they spotted a black Pontiac hearse that Stills was certain belonged to Neil Young. Bruce Palmer was in the hearse as well. Stills, who was born in Texas, was the band's undisputed leader. He and Furay had previously performed as members of the Go-Go Singers, a large East Coast folk ensemble. After the failure of their debut album, They Call Us the Go-Go Singers, the group disbanded. Stills formed a new band without Furay and met Young while on tour in Ontario. Stills relocated to California in 1965 and even auditioned for the Monkees while he was in California. Young's first band was the Squires, a Winnipeg, Manitoba-based quintet. He returned to his birthplace of Toronto after finishing school and worked in some of the city's folk clubs. He went to New York in late 1964 in the intention of reconciling with Stills, who had already departed town. Young eventually tracked down Furay and sang Nowadays Clancy Can't Even Sing, one of his tunes. Young then returned to Canada, where he joined Palmer and future funk singer Rick James in the Mina Birds, a short-lived band that recorded some unreleased Motown material. Stills had met Young in Toronto, Canada a year before. While they were both members of their respective bands, they indicated a desire to establish their own band. Following the failure of their own band, the Mina Birds, to land a record deal, Young met a bassist, Bruce Palmer, and the two headed out for Los Angeles to meet Stills. Stills, Furay, Young, and Palmer would establish a new band after a meeting in the Sunset Boulevard traffic. Dewey Martin, a drummer, was eventually added to the lineup, completing the formation of Buffalo Springfield. Neil Young and Stephen Stills were the group's major songwriters, and they formed one of the first folk rock ensembles, with Richie Furay on guitar, Bruce Palmer on bass, and Dewey Martin on drums. They also drew inspiration from the psychedelic environment in San Francisco and the type of rock and roll that British bands were introducing to the United States. Buffalo Springfield was a kaleidoscope of styles and ideas. The artistic culture developed in the Laurel Canyon neighborhood impacted and formed Buffalo Springfield's sound. Other groups involved with this hotbed of creativity include the Byrds, the Mamas and Papas, and the Beach Boys, among others. They collaborated to create the California sound, which is synonymous with the 1960s. Buffalo Springfield was a short-lived band in their first lineup, lasting only 2 years. However, the band released 3 outstanding studio albums over those 2 years. Buffalo Springfield from 1966, Buffalo Springfield again in 1967, and Last Time Around in 1968. Davis brought the band to a management team that had previously worked with Sonny and Cher and would create Buffalo Springfield, the band's debut album. The managers, on the other hand, were not music creators. Despite initial sessions at Gold Star Studios in Los Angeles, where Phil Spector recorded the Ronettes, Crystals, and Righteous Brothers, the Buffalo Springfield management team was unable to reproduce the energy of the group's live performances in the studio. Members of the band wanted to start over and trash those recordings, but Atlantic refused. Buffalo Springfield recorded their self-titled album released in late 1966. The single Nowadays Clancy Can't Even Sing was released before the album, although it had minimal impact on the charts. The choice to release the song as the A-side was made by the record label. Stills' Go and Say Goodbye was projected to receive the honor. The band's fortunes were at an all-time low in November 1966, when long-haired youngsters clashed with cops in the Sunset Strip riots. Stills grabbed up his guitar and began strumming and singing at a Topanga Canyon party shortly after. The next day, Buffalo Springfield went into the studio to record their lone hit single, which was produced by Stills. Another single from the album, For What It's Worth, was released in early 1967. For What It's Worth, written by Stills, quickly became a popular protest song. The song was commonly adopted as an anthem at protests and was widely recognized as an anti-war song. It had early acclaim in California and a sluggish 14-week ascension of Billboard Hot 100. It has become their trademark song. Stills penned the song in response to the Sunset Strip curfew and the riots that followed. The issue started when businesses and residents on the Sunset Strip in Los Angeles became frustrated with the large number of children staying on the streets. As a result, the city enacted rules prohibiting people from loitering after a particular hour. Buffalo Springfield established himself as one of the best Californian rock bands, comparable to the Byrds, thanks to the success of For What It's Worth. In some ways, For What It's Worth is an accurate depiction of what was going on in Buffalo Springfield at the time, and it would prove to be the trigger for their biggest hit and the same force that brought them down. Atlantic repressed Buffalo Springfield on the basis of For What It's Worth, adding the hit to the song list and deleting another song, Baby Don't Scold Me. The album finally sold 250,000 copies. Buffalo Springfield's fortunes should have been improving. The band continued to have run-ins with the law, including drug busts. Bruce Palmer, a Canadian, was repeatedly apprehended by authorities and deported. Neil Young was repeatedly confronted and beaten up by officers. However, the band's lineup changed. Palmer was eventually apprehended and deported back to Canada on drug charges, but in June 1967 he returned to the fold. In Palmer's place, Buffalo Springfield used a variety of bassists as the band bounced between New York and Los Angeles, juggling the rigors of recording and performing. Additionally, during the recording of Buffalo Springfield's second album, conflicts arose due to artistic differences and conflicting egos, mainly between Stills and Young. Buffalo Springfield again from 1967, the band's second album received favorable critical acclaim. Things appeared to be going well for them until Palmer's second arrest and subsequent displacement, this time for good, severely harmed the organization. Young also began to fade away from Buffalo Springfield, while studio engineer Jim Messina took over as the group's main bassist. Before performing at the Monterey Pop Festival and the Newport Folk Festival, Young quit Buffalo Springfield in 1967. Later that year, he returned, but a pattern had been established, and band members believed it was only a matter of time until Young left for good, opting for a solo career. Last time around, from 1968, the band's final album was recorded and published to meet the band's contract avoidable. With Neil Young's attendance in the band becoming increasingly rare and Bruce Palmer's constant absence due to deportations, it became increasingly difficult to keep the band together. Individual members of the band wanted to follow other career paths and let their creativity flow at this stage. Young, Furay, and Messina were apprehended in a drug bust on March 20th, 1968. Still squeezed out a back window after Martin had left a few moments before. This effectively put Buffalo Springfield on notice that it was about to fold. On May 5th, 1968, the band's final concert took place in Long Beach, California, just 2 years after their debut public performance. Young began his solo career before rejoining Stills in the supergroup Crosby, Stills, and Nash, where he became an occasional fourth member. Stills recorded and released records under his own name as well. Messina and Furay founded their own band Poco, but Furay went on to form his own solo career, while Messina formed the combo Loggins and Messina with Kenny Loggins. Martin toured with a group of studio musicians under the name of the New Buffalo Springfield after the breakup, but former members sued to put a stop to it. Martin and Palmer attempted to resurrect Buffalo Springfield Revisited in 1984, but there were few takers. In 2010, rumors of a Buffalo Springfield reunion became a reality, with only Young, Stills, and Furay remaining. Palmer passed away in 2004 and Martin passed away in 2009. Young's annual charity concert, the Bridge School Benefit, featured the surviving Buffalo Springfield members. In 2011, they also performed in a few locations in California and Tennessee. The most recent lineup had the 3 original members who were still alive, as well as new bassist Rick Rosas and drummer Joe Vitale. The band announced their indefinite break in 2012. In 1997, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inducted Buffalo Springfield. And the reason why Buffalo Springfield broke up was because they were founded on an ethos that could only support them for a short period. It was born out of a desire to create and evolve as an artist. Those foundations will of course be demolished and rebuilt in new locations as the artists select. Stills released the blues album Can't Get Enough with Kenny Wayne Shepherd and Barry Goldberg as the Rides on August 27, 2013. Stills self-released a song called Look Each Other in the Eye on SoundCloud in December 2016. Stills and Judy Collins released the album Everybody Knows on September 22, 2017. which debuted at number 195 on the Billboard 200 and peaked at number 45. Furay announced his retirement from headline touring in mid-2019. In the fall of 2019, he started on a West Coast tour sharing the bill with Dave Mason. In 2020, Furay's farewell/76th birthday celebration was supposed to be held at the South Orange Performing Arts Center in New Jersey. The exhibition has been postponed until 2022 due to the pandemic and storm damage to the building. In his shows, he performed Crazy Love and Bad Weather as a tribute to Poco bandmates Rusty Young and Paul Cotton, who both died in 2021. Neil Young stated in April 2020 that he was working on a new archival album, Road of Plenty. Due to the pandemic, the intended April 17th release was postponed. For the use of Young's music at campaign rallies, Young launched a copyright infringement case against Donald Trump's re-election campaign. In honor of Young's 75th birthday, Rolling Stone will produce a special edition in December 2020. And as of 2022, Neil Young is working on a new solo album. Young sold the rights to his back catalog to a British investment group in January 2021, according to reports. Financial information was not provided, but it was expected to be worth at least $150 million. Young revealed in June 2021 that he and Crazy Horse were working on an album called Barn, which was released on December 10th, 2021. And that's what happened to Buffalo Springfield. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I now have a Patreon account, so if you want to support this channel, you can go right there, and there are some benefits as well, as you will see on screen. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.